Magic Emperor, Chapter 838. Chuoba Taishan shook his head, looking totally stressed, and asked how he was supposed to keep his cool. Chuoba Liufin was his only son, and now that the crown prince had snatched him up, there was no telling what kind of torture he was going through. His heart was racing like it was on fire. I don't care how worried you are, you can't just call in the city guards on a whim. Taimo shook his head firmly. You've got to remember that using the military to raid the crown prince's palace is straight up treason, and nobody can bail you out of that. Plus, you're just a city commander now, not the big shot running a 1,000,000-man army like you used to. The crown prince's place is packed with elite fighters, and 9 powerful high priests, so marching in there is basically a suicide mission. Chuoba Taishan slammed the table and yelled that he'd rather risk his life than just sit there and watch his kids suffer. Taimo sighed and told Chuoba Taishan he needed to chill out. After thinking for a bit, he suggested getting the officials together to ask the emperor to look at Chuoba Taishan's past achievements, hoping he'd show some mercy. Chuoba Taishan shook his head in frustration and said it was pointless because the emperor gave the crown prince total control, and anyone who messed with that would get punished instantly. Right now, the other officials are just looking out for themselves, and nobody wants to get mixed up in his family's mess. Hearing that, Taimo could only sigh and shake his head in total helplessness. The emperor was really playing favorites and shielding the crown prince while giving his loyal veterans the cold shoulder, which left them feeling totally crushed and let down. Things have gone south, master. A young maid rushed up to Chuoba Taishan, bawling her eyes out and screaming. What happened to my daughter? Talk, now. Chuoba Taishan jumped in shock and shouted. Crying, the maid explained that the young lady had knocked her out just to sneak out. She's definitely gone to the crown prince's palace to beg for the young master's life. Please go save her. What? That stubborn girl is basically walking into a death trap, and it makes me furious. Chuoba Taishan's face went pale from the stress, as he blamed himself. Right then, with a look of pure determination, he ordered the wolf guards to round up the troops immediately to surround the crown prince's palace. Brother Chuoba Taishan, calm down, and don't do anything stupid. I'm done being calm. If anything happens to my 2 kids, I don't even want to live anymore. Chuoba Taishan waved him off, shutting down any more advice. Taimo watched Chuoba Taishan walk away and yelled out, asking if he really wanted to throw away a lifetime of honor just to become a national criminal. Chuoba Taishan stopped and stood there in silence for a second. Finally, with a steady gaze, he declared he was the Marshal of Quanron, loyal his whole life and never intending to betray his country. No matter how unfairly the emperor treated him, he'd take it without a single complaint. But as a father, he couldn't just stand by while someone bullied his daughter. Taimo, even if I'm charged with treason and have to die today, I'm going to protect my kid's future. After saying his piece, Chuoba Taishan turned and walked away, quickly disappearing from sight. Taimo gave a helpless sigh and finally decided to follow him quietly. At the gate, the 8 wolf guards were all lined up and ready to go, reporting that the troops were standing by for orders. Chuoba Taishan looked them over and ordered the army to move out immediately. Understood. The 8 wolf guards replied in unison, looking totally heightened. After 8 years without a fight, this was a rare chance for them to finally show what they were made of. Even if they were up against the crown prince, they were still pumped because fighting under this marshal was the biggest honor of their lives. Just then, Taimo rushed over and called out for Chuoba Taishan to stop. Chuoba Taishan didn't even look back, stating that his mind was made up. I'm not here to stop you. We've been close brothers for years, so I'm rolling with you this time. If we were lucky enough to talk the crown prince into letting them go, great. If not, I'm down to take the fall with you. Chuoba Taishan looked at his friend and laughed out loud, praising Taimo's loyalty. The army began to march with a powerful and imposing vibe. But just as they started, a guy who looked totally wiped out suddenly showed up. It was a guard from the imperial palace. Chuoba Taishan worried that the emperor had caught wind of his plan and sent someone to stop him. The 2 of them looked at each other with dead serious expressions. They were afraid that if this was the emperor's order, the army would get cut off by an ambush up ahead. Surprisingly, the guard looked relieved to see the troops and praised Chuoba Taishan for his incredible foresight. I can't believe you already knew the palace was in deep trouble and sent reinforcements just in time like this. Chuoba Taishan asked in surprise about the palace being in danger. The guard frantically confirmed the news. The 6th prince and some random young guy are raiding the palace with unstoppable power, and they're about to break into the emperor's private quarters. Massive explosions went off one after another. A huge crowd of Imperial guards rushed toward the palace gates but were instantly blown back by terrifying blasts. All the soldiers were wiped out in the blink of an eye. The air reeked of blood, and tens of thousands of troops were cleared away in no time. Xiu Fan calmly looked at Flower Spirit with a cold, blank face. Dead him. What he just did was like clearing away minor trash, and he told Flower Spirit to keep leading the way. Flower Spirit was terrified, only able to point a shaking finger toward the massive palace ahead. Another massive, terrifying explosion rang out. Xiu Fan didn't want to take the long way anymore, so he just smashed through the buildings to go straight through the palaces. The sixth prince followed behind, watching the whole thing in total shock, wondering if Xiu Fan was even human. Anyone who tried to stop him was taken out instantly. At this point, to Xiu Fan, everything in his path was just an obstacle that needed to be deleted. Dian Buwan and the high priests were scared stiff, telling the sixth prince that Xiu had gone way over the line. Breaking into the imperial palace like this was an unforgivable crime. Even though his power was insane, the sixth prince still had to live in this capital. Once he leaves later on, how are you going to deal with the fallout? They kept chasing Xiu Fan from the crown prince's palace all the way to the imperial palace. Everywhere they went, all that was left were piles of ruins. Seeing how brutal Xiu Fan was made them seriously worried about their master's future. Sixth prince, you need to get out of here right now before the emperor spots you. We should pin everything on Xiu to avoid getting dragged into this disaster. The sixth prince thought about it for a second, and then stated he'd keep his promise to help Xiu since he was a VIP guest. He decided to stay, and see whatever it was they were looking for show up. If you guys are scared of getting caught up in this, go ahead and bail first. Then, the sixth prince hurried after Xiu Fan, falling out for him to wait up. There's just no stopping him. Jian Buvuan shook his head helplessly. The four of them looked at each other and sighed, but they decided to keep following anyway. After all, the sixth prince was their master, so they couldn't just ditch him. While Xiu Fan strolled forward, they could only follow in fear, haunted by the thought of severe punishments. They were terrified that if Xiu Fan vanished, their lives would be totally over.